No one would aid the alien princess, but the human refused to turn away. Inside, a lone figure struggled to keep the ship functioning. She was Princess Liara of the Sci-Fi, a species renowned for their intelligence and grace. Her people had ruled parts of the galaxy for centuries, but recent wars and political betrayal had left her isolated, hunted by a ruthless consortium that sought to capture her. Liara pressed her slender fingers against the control panel, sending a distress signal into the void. The message carried her plea across millions of kilometers, hoping that someone, anyone, would respond. She had sent the signal many times before. She had hoped for aid from neighboring civilizations, from interstellar governments, from anyone who valued life over fear. Yet the silence that followed was deafening. Every attempt had been met with hesitation or outright refusal. Fear, greed, and politics had closed the galaxy's doors to her. Her ship groaned under the strain of failing engines. The lights flickered as she struggled to stabilize the vessel. She could feel her energy draining, her hope waning. Yet she refused to give in. The Sci-Fi were taught never to surrender, to survive against impossible odds. But this time, survival seemed almost hopeless. Far away, on a human colony orbiting a vibrant, blue planet, Captain Elias Kane leaned over the communication console of his exploration vessel, the intrepid Horizon. He was a man in his mid-30s, with a calm demeanor that hid a sharp mind. Humans had spread across the stars, often venturing into unknown territories where danger waited silently. Elias had seen countless distress signals, some false alarms, some traps, but something about this one was different. The signal was faint, almost drowned by the cosmic background noise, but the pattern was unique. It was a call for help that carried desperation and dignity at the same time. Elias studied the data carefully. He knew that answering this signal could lead him into danger. The Andromeda expanse was notorious for its uncharted territories, treacherous asteroid fields, and remnants of old wars. Many ships had vanished there without a trace. "Captain Kane, it's risky," said Lieutenant Myra Jansen, his second in command. She was practical and cautious, a valuable balance to Elias' boldness. "We don't know what's out there. It could be a trap." Elias looked at her with calm determination. "I know, Myra, but someone is calling for help. If we can reach them, we might save a life. We've crossed dangerous space before. Humans survive because we choose to act, even when fear whispers to stay silent. We can't ignore this." Myra hesitated, then nodded slowly. She respected Elias, trusted his judgment even when it seemed reckless. "All right, Captain." "Plotting course now?" Elias smiled faintly and turned back to the screen. The signal pulsed again, brighter this time, as if sensing that someone was listening. Somewhere across the void, Princess Liara felt a faint shift in the emptiness. She could not see it, could not yet know, but hope flickered in her heart. For the first time in weeks, she felt that perhaps she would not face the darkness alone. The journey to the source of the signal was long and filled with tension. The intrepid Horizon navigated through asteroid belts and regions of cosmic debris. Every moment brought them closer to the unknown. Elias and his crew prepared their systems, ensuring that they could respond to any danger that awaited them. Humans were explorers by nature, always seeking knowledge and connection even in the coldest reaches of space. But more than that, Elias carried a principle that had guided him all his life. Every life mattered, no matter how different or far away. Finally, after hours of careful navigation, the faint outline of the drifting spacecraft appeared on their scanners. It was small, barely more than a scout ship, and heavily damaged. Its engines were failing, and its hull bore signs of battle and neglect. Elias felt a pang of concern. Whoever or whatever was inside had been through a lot. "Captain, we've located the ship," said Myra, her voice tense. It's badly damaged. Sensors indicate life signs, but weak. We need to act fast." Elias nodded. "Prepare the shuttle." "We're going down. I want minimal risk, but we bring them aboard." As they approached, Princess Liara struggled to maintain consciousness. The ship's automated systems beeped warnings constantly. She had done all she could, but the engines were failing and the hull could not withstand another collision. She felt her vision blur and her strength fade. If no one came, this would be the end. Then, she detected a new presence. Her sensors picked up a human ship entering her vicinity. She could not believe it at first. Was it a dream, or another trick of the universe mocking her hope? But the readings were clear. Someone had come. She tried to send a signal, a simple message of gratitude and relief, but her systems were too weak. The intrepid Horizons shuttle landed near her ship with careful precision. Elias stepped out, helmet reflecting the dim light of the distant star. He carried no weapon, only tools and a calm determination. He approached the drifting ship with measured steps, analyzing the damage and the life signs inside. "Hold on," he said softly, more to himself than to anyone else. "We've got you." Inside her failing vessel, Liara could barely register the human's presence. She watched as a figure, tall, determined, calm, opened her ship's hatch without hesitation. There was no fear, no hesitation, no judgment, just action. "Princess Liara?" Elias asked, his voice gentle but firm. "I'm Captain Elias Kane of the human vessel Intrepid Horizon. We're here to help you. Can you move?" Liara tried to speak, but her voice barely emerged. She nodded weakly. She did not understand why this human cared, why he risked everything for her. In her world, power and status dictated action. In the galaxy beyond, life was often a transaction and mercy was rare. But this human, he was different. With careful movements, Elias and his team lifted Liara from the failing ship. Her frail body was weaker than she had expected, but there was a spark in her eyes, a spark of hope, of recognition that not all beings were cruel or indifferent. Once aboard the Intrepid Horizon, Liara was placed in a medical bay where advanced human technology began stabilizing her condition. She watched in awe as the humans worked efficiently, calmly, with skill and care. Their methods were different from her own species, yet effective and compassionate. Elias stood nearby, monitoring her vital signs. "You're safe now," he said. "We'll get you somewhere secure. No one deserves to be hunted like this." Liara struggled to form words. Her species valued eloquence, diplomacy, and precision, but her gratitude went beyond words. She simply nodded, letting the human understand that for the first time in weeks, she felt that someone truly cared. As the Intrepid Horizon prepared to leave the planet, Elias reflected on the choice he had made. Many would call it reckless. Many would have ignored a distant signal, thinking it too risky, too inconvenient. But humans had a way of surprising the galaxy. They acted when it mattered, they chose courage over comfort. And sometimes that choice made all the difference. Liara, though exhausted and wary, could not help but study Elias. In him, she saw not just a rescuer, but a symbol of something she had never experienced in her own world: unyielding moral courage. A being who would act rightly, even when no one else would. A being who refused to turn away. As the stars stretched out before them, the Intrepid Horizon moved steadily toward the unknown, carrying a fragile alien princess and a human captain whose actions would change the course of more than one life. In the emptiness of space, hope had taken form, and the journey was only beginning. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, had not yet seen the full measure of humanity. But in the quiet determination of one man and the trust of one princess, a spark had been lit, a spark that would grow and, in time, shine far brighter than any star. The Intrepid Horizon glided silently through the vast emptiness of space, leaving the barren planet behind. Stars glittered like scattered diamonds, and nebulae painted the darkness with swirls of color. Inside the medical bay, Princess Liara lay resting on a sleek bed of human design, her breathing now steady, her pulse returning to normal. The advanced human systems monitored her condition with gentle efficiency, repairing minor injuries and stabilizing her fragile body. Elias Kane stood at the edge of the bay, watching her closely. He did not rush. He knew patience was as important as skill. Liara had been through trauma, both physical and emotional. Her world had betrayed her, leaving her alone in the void. Now, for the first time in weeks, she was safe, or at least as safe as space could allow. "You'll need to rest," Elias said softly, his voice calm and steady. "The journey is long, but we'll get you to a secure place, somewhere you can recover and decide your next steps." Liara opened her eyes slowly. She studied him, noticing the sharp intelligence in his gaze and the quiet determination in his posture. Her people prized diplomacy, strategy, and power. They valued those who knew how to navigate the dangerous currents of interstellar politics. But this human was different. He did not speak of power. He did not demand obedience. He only offered help. "I thank you," she said finally, her voice weak but sincere. "I do not understand why your people, why you came." Elias shook his head slightly. "Sometimes the right thing to do is simple. Someone needs help. You needed help. I could not ignore that." That is why humans keep moving forward, even when the galaxy seems cruel. Liara's eyes widened. In her experience, acts of kindness were usually calculated, meant to gain advantage or avoid consequences. To see someone act purely out of compassion was foreign to her. It sparked a cautious curiosity, a flicker of trust she had not allowed herself in a long time. The silence between them stretched, filled only by the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Finally, Liara spoke again. "My people, they are being hunted," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "The consortium, they seek to capture me, to control the Sci-Fi. I have nowhere to turn, no one will help." Elias nodded thoughtfully. "We'll figure something out, but first you need strength. Then we can plan." Over the next few hours, Elias introduced Liara to the ship systems. Despite her weakened state, she marveled at human technology. The interface was simple yet powerful, designed for efficiency and adaptability rather than elegance alone. She observed how humans integrated technology and instinct, how they adapted quickly to situations without rigid dependence on tradition. "It is different from our systems," Liara said, her tone a mixture of admiration and disbelief. "Yours is simple but effective. And humans, you seem able to think through anything." Elias smiled. "We make mistakes, of course, but we survive because we keep trying, and we care about life, yours, mine, everyone's. That matters more than power." Liara studied him closely. She realized that survival was not just about strength or skill. It was about determination, courage, and the will to act when others would stand by. Humans, she thought, had a resilience that went beyond logic or strategy. It was something raw, instinctive, and moral, a strength of character that could not be measured by technology or armies. As the ship traveled, the scanners began to pick up strange readings. An unidentified vessel moved slowly through the void, tracking the intrepid horizon. Elias observed the readings carefully. The ship was sleek, dangerous, and heavily armed. Whoever it belonged to was patient and intelligent, waiting for the right moment to strike. "Captain," Myra said, her voice tense, "we've got company, it's not friendly." Elias moved to the control panel, his mind already calculating possibilities. "We need to prepare. This is likely the consortium's pursuit ship. They won't stop until they have what they want, but we will not let them take her." Liara felt a surge of fear and anger. Her people had always been hunted by stronger powers, betrayed by allies, and abandoned by those who valued profit over justice. But seeing Elia's calm, unflinching stance gave her a strange sense of hope. Perhaps there were beings in the galaxy who could act differently, who would not betray, who would not look away. The pursuit ship adjusted its course, moving closer, scanning for weaknesses. Elias ordered defensive maneuvers, navigating through asteroid fields and using the ship's advanced engines to dodge attacks. Liara observed silently, impressed by the human's skill. He did not panic, even when the odds seemed stacked against them. His focus was sharp, precise, and unwavering. "This is extraordinary," she whispered to herself. "Humans, they fight with more than strength, they fight with courage." Elias noticed her gaze. "You'll need to trust me," he said gently. "I can't protect you if you doubt every step. We're stronger together." Liara nodded, understanding that this was a test not of technology, but of character. She had learned long ago to rely only on herself, but now she realized that trust could also be a weapon, one that allowed humans to achieve more than any one individual could alone. The chase continued through a dense cluster of asteroids. The pursuit ship fired warning blasts, trying to disable the intrepid horizon without direct confrontation. Elias countered with ingenuity, using the ship's systems to mislead their pursuers. He manipulated gravitational fields, creating illusions on the scanners, and maneuvered through narrow spaces where the larger pursuit vessel could not follow. Liara marveled at the human ability to improvise under pressure. Her people valued planning and precision, but humans seemed able to think on their feet in ways that were both unpredictable and effective. Each decision Elias made demonstrated not just skill, but a deep understanding of risk and morality. He chose paths that protected life whenever possible, even if it made the journey harder. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the quiet hum of the ship's engines and the occasional alert from the systems. Finally, Elias found a temporary hiding place, a dense asteroid field with irregular formations and shadowed gaps. The intrepid horizon slipped between massive rocks, the pursuit ship unable to match the nimbleness of human engineering and instinct. Liara let out a small sigh of relief. You have saved me again, she said softly. I do not know how to repay you. Elias shook his head. You do not need to repay me. I act because it is right. Sometimes that is enough. For the first time since the start of her ordeal, Liara felt a flicker of something she had long forgotten. Hope. The galaxy had seemed dark and merciless, but here was a being who acted differently, who would not abandon her even when everyone else had. Over the next day, Liara began to regain strength. Elias allowed her to explore parts of the ship, showing her the crew's quarters, the engineering bay, and the communication systems. She observed humans interacting with each other, friendly, cooperative, efficient, yet filled with warmth and humor. It was a stark contrast to the rigid, hierarchical societies she had known. You live in communities like this? She asked, amazed. Elias nodded. Yes, we believe in working together, helping each other, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. It's not always easy, but it's worth it. Liara thought about the galaxy she had known. Alliances built on fear, betrayals motivated by greed, lives sacrificed for political gain. And now she saw humans, flawed certainly, but capable of compassion, courage, and loyalty. She realized that she had found not just a rescuer, but a teacher. That evening, as the ship traveled in quiet space, Liara and Elias stood side by side at the observation window. Stars stretched infinitely in every direction, distant suns painting the darkness with light. I have seen many civilizations, Liara said softly, and yet none have shown me what you have. Humans, you are remarkable. Elias smiled faintly. We are not perfect, but we try, and we refuse to turn away when others need help. That's what matters. Liara considered this carefully. Perhaps this was the lesson she had needed all along. Strength, power, and strategy were important, but they were not everything. Compassion, courage, and the willingness to act for what is right. These were qualities that could change the course of lives, and perhaps even the galaxy itself. As the intrepid Horizon continued its journey through the unknown, Liara knew that the first step of her long journey had been taken. She was no longer alone. And with humans like Elias Kane, there was a chance, however small, that she might survive and one day reclaim the hope and honor of her people. The galaxy was vast and uncertain, but now, in the quiet company of a human captain, Princess Liara realized something profound. Courage could exist even in the darkest reaches of space, and sometimes one human's refusal to turn away could ignite a light that no darkness could extinguish. The intrepid Horizon moved like a shadow through the endless expanse of stars. The asteroid field had provided temporary safety, but Elias Kane knew it would not last long. The pursuit ship from the consortium was patient, methodical, and determined. Every second that passed gave the humans precious time to plan, but the danger was growing closer with every pulse of the sensors. In the medical bay, Princess Liara was regaining her strength. She walked slowly, supported by Elias and careful medical systems that monitored her every move. Her body was healing, but her mind remained alert. She had been hunted before, but never had she encountered someone like Elias Kane, a human who refused to turn away no matter the danger. You've brought me far from danger, she said quietly, but I know it is only temporary. They will not give up so easily. Elias nodded, his gaze steady. We'll keep moving, but you are stronger than you realize. You've survived this long, and now we fight together. Trust me, princess. Liara studied him. Trust was not something easily given in her world. Betrayal was common, and survival often meant suspicion. Yet Elia's calm confidence, his consistent protection, and the way he acted without hesitation made her realize that this human was unlike anyone she had ever met. Together, she murmured. I have not had that for a long time. Elias did not answer with words. Instead, he led her to the control room, showing her the ship's navigation systems. The intrepid Horizon was not a warship, but it was equipped with clever defenses, nimble engines, and an experienced crew. This is how we'll survive, Elias said, pointing at the holographic map of the asteroid field and surrounding space. We can't outrun them forever, but we can outthink them. The galaxy is full of obstacles, and we'll use every one of them to our advantage. Liara nodded. She had learned from her people to rely on strategy, but humans combined logic with intuition in a way that fascinated her. Every decision Elias made considered both the immediate danger and the unseen possibilities. It was a skill she had rarely encountered outside her own advisors, and even they had often been compromised by fear or ambition. Suddenly, alarms blared. Sensors detected multiple objects approaching from the opposite direction, more than just the original pursuit ship. The consortium was relentless. They had sent reinforcements, determined to capture Liara no matter the cost. "Brace yourselves," Elias said, his voice calm but commanding. "This is going to get rough." The intrepid Horizon weaved through the asteroid field with precision. Rocks and debris tumbled past, narrowly missing the hull as the ship dodged with agility that only humans could achieve. The pursuing ship struggled to follow, larger and less flexible than Elia's craft. Liara watched the maneuvers, her mind racing. How do you do this?" she asked, awed. "In my experience, no ship could move so freely under pressure." Elias smiled faintly. "Experience, practice, and a refusal to panic. Fear is natural, but panic is deadly. We calculate, adapt, and act. That is how we survive." The chase was long and exhausting. The consortium ships fired warning blasts, trying to damage the intrepid Horizon and slow them down. Elias countered cleverly, using the asteroid formations as shields and manipulating gravitational fields to mislead their pursuers. Each maneuver was precise, balancing risk with protection for Liara and the crew. Liara felt a strange mixture of fear and admiration. Fear, because the danger was real and constant. Admiration, because she had never seen such courage and cleverness in action. Her people had valued power, wealth, and influence. But here she saw that intelligence combined with morality and bravery could achieve far more than brute strength alone. Hours passed, and the intrepid Horizon finally found a temporary refuge in a shadowed nebula. The dense clouds of gas distorted sensors, making it difficult for the pursuing ships to locate them. Elias maneuvered the ship into the safest pocket he could find, and the crew exhaled in relief, though their vigilance remained high. Liara sank into a chair, exhausted but alive. She looked at Elias, her expression a mixture of gratitude and amazement. You saved us all again. I do not know how to repay you." Elias shook his head. "There is nothing to repay. Protecting life is its own reward. And someday, when the galaxy sees what you have endured, they may understand that helping others is always the right choice." Liara's eyes softened. For the first time, she felt that humans were not just rescuers. They were teachers, showing her a way of living that went beyond politics and fear. She realized that courage, compassion, and determination were forces stronger than any weapon she had ever seen. As the crew repaired minor damages and resupplied, Elias took a moment to explain the plan. "We cannot stay here for long. The consortium will search this nebula systematically. We need to move before they find us. But we can use our speed, our ingenuity, and the obstacles of space to stay ahead. And Princess, you will need to help. Your knowledge and experience are invaluable." Liara nodded, determined. She had always been a leader, trained to make critical decisions under pressure. Now, with Elias, guidance, and the human crew's support, she began to understand that survival was not just about fighting. It was about strategy, adaptability, and trust. The next phase of their journey required navigating a treacherous cluster of abandoned space stations, remnants of a long-forgotten war. The stations were dangerous, filled with debris, unstable structures, and unpredictable gravitational fields. Yet Elias saw opportunity. He planned to use the stations as cover, a way to mislead the pursuers and buy them time. Liara assisted, providing insight into complex maneuvering tactics and calculations that even human sensors could not fully anticipate. Together, they formed a seamless partnership, combining human ingenuity with Sci-Fi knowledge. It was a fusion of strength and intellect that neither species could achieve alone. As they moved through the abandoned stations, the first real confrontation occurred. A small squadron of consortium ships ambushed them, firing energy blasts that struck the stations around them. The explosions rocked the debris fields, sending fragments hurtling in all directions. Elias maneuvered expertly, weaving the intrepid Horizon through narrow passages and using the chaos to their advantage. Liara guided him through hidden gaps and blind spots, her sharp mind identifying opportunities that the human crew would have missed. "Keep steady," Elias shouted over the comms. "We're almost clear." A final blast struck nearby, shaking the ship violently. Liara held onto the railing, heart-pounding, but she did not panic. She had come to trust Elias completely, and his calm focus gave her strength. Finally, with a daring move, Elias propelled the intrepid Horizon through a narrow gap in the debris, outmaneuvering the pursuers. The consortium ships, unable to follow, collided with the remnants of the stations or were forced to retreat temporarily. The crew erupted in quiet cheers, and Liara allowed herself a small smile. She had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, yet emerged alive, and with allies who refused to abandon her. Later, as the ship moved safely into open space, Elias and Liara stood together at the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly, and the galaxy seemed both infinite and intimate in that moment. "You are remarkable," Liara said, her voice soft but full of admiration. "Humans, you act with courage even when others would look away. Even when danger is near, you do not falter." Elias shook his head. "We are not perfect, but we try, and when someone needs help, we act. That is what matters." Liara looked out at the stars, thinking of her people, her enemies, and the vast universe that had seemed so cruel only days ago. Perhaps, she thought, this was the lesson she needed, that courage, morality, and the will to protect life were forces more powerful than politics, power, or fear. As the intrepid Horizon sped through the void, Liara understood that this was only the beginning. The consortium would not give up, and the galaxy would challenge them in ways they could not yet imagine. But she was no longer alone. She had humans beside her, humans who would not turn away, humans who would act when others hesitated, and humans whose courage could light a path through even the darkest reaches of space. In that quiet, fleeting moment, Princess Liara realized something profound. Survival was not just about strength or skill. It was about heart, determination, and the willingness to act when it mattered most. And with Elias Kane at her side, she had found all three. After hours of cautious travel through uncharted space, the intrepid Horizon entered a dense nebula. Gas clouds of red and blue swirled around them, interfering with sensors and communication systems. Elias Kane guided the ship carefully, knowing that the consortium's ships would find it harder to follow them here. The nebula was unpredictable, but it offered a chance for respite, a chance to regroup and plan their next move. Princess Liara stood beside Elias in the control room, her gaze fixed on the ever-changing patterns of light outside the viewport. The stars were obscured, but the swirling colors created an almost magical view. For the first time since her ordeal began, she allowed herself a small measure of calm. The humans had not only saved her life, but had given her the opportunity to breathe, to plan, and perhaps even to hope. "Captain," she said quietly, "this place, it is dangerous." "How do we know it is safe to stop here?" Elias smiled faintly. "Safe is relative, but sometimes you have to take a risk to find safety. The nebula will hide us, and we can rest and repair before continuing. We cannot run forever. We have to make allies." Liara's eyes widened. "Allies who would help us, my people. No one has helped me so far." Elias shook his head. "That is because they were too afraid. Fear stops many civilizations from acting, but humans, we try to act when others hesitate. And sometimes, showing courage inspires others to do the same." Liara considered his words. In her world, courage was often sacrificed to politics, safety, and advantage. To see someone act purely out of morality, without thought for gain or fear of loss, was foreign. And yet here was Elias, demonstrating it in every word, every action. As the intrepid Horizon navigated deeper into the nebula, the sensors detected faint energy signatures, life forms. Elias adjusted the ship's course carefully, approaching without revealing their presence. What they found was remarkable. A hidden colony of humans and alien refugees living in secret among the dense gas clouds. The settlement was small but well organized, with ships docked carefully in camouflaged stations and small gardens floating in zero gravity. "This place," Liara whispered, awe in her voice. "It is hidden, safe, but why? Why are they here?" Elias explained. "Some beings, like your people, have been hunted, persecuted, or abandoned. This colony provides shelter for those who cannot find it elsewhere. They live quietly, protecting each other and keeping themselves safe. But they are cautious. Many of them have been betrayed before." Elias prepared a communication link to the colony, carefully introducing himself and Liara. The colony's leaders responded with suspicion at first. Humans and aliens alike had learned that trust must be earned, especially in a galaxy where betrayal was common. Yet Elias' reputation, his calm professionalism, and the sincerity in his words slowly began to break down their walls. Finally, a representative stepped forward. a tall human woman with bright eyes and a sharp mind named Commander Lyra Voss. "Captain Kane," she said, "we have heard of your actions in the Expanse. Few would risk their ship for another's life. If your story is true, then perhaps we can help. But understand, we are cautious. The consortium is ruthless, and we cannot afford mistakes." Elias nodded. "I understand, but Princess Liara's life is in danger and her people depend on her. We cannot stand by while others fail to act. We need allies, and we hope you will join us." The colony's council debated for hours, weighing the risk against the potential reward. Many feared retaliation from the consortium. Others argued that helping Liara could draw attention and danger to their hidden home. Yet Elia's determination and Liara's quiet dignity made an impression. They saw not just desperation, but courage and moral clarity, the rare qualities that could inspire even the hesitant to act. Finally, the decision was made. The colony would provide shelter, resources, and some ships to aid in Liara's escape. It was not a full army, but it was enough to turn the tide. Liara felt a surge of gratitude, realizing that humans could inspire hope in ways she had never imagined. Over the next day, Elias worked with the colony's engineers and pilots to prepare their next move. Liara assisted, sharing knowledge of the consortium's tactics, ship designs, and strategies. Together, humans and Sci-Fi worked side by side, combining ingenuity, courage, and intellect to prepare for the challenges ahead. "This is remarkable," Liara said quietly. "Your people, humans, you inspire others to act even when fear is strong. I have seen many civilizations hesitate, yet you lead by example." Elias smiled faintly. "Sometimes action speaks louder than words. Courage is contagious. When you act rightly, others see it and they join. That is how we change things." As preparations continued, scouts reported that consortium ships were approaching the nebula's edge. The hidden colony had limited defenses, but Elia's ingenuity, combined with Liara's strategic knowledge, created clever traps and obstacles to slow the enemy. Energy fields were redirected, asteroid fragments manipulated, and false signals projected to confuse the pursuers. Liara watched, amazed, as humans coordinated with aliens and refugees alike, moving with precision and purpose. It was not brute force that mattered. It was strategy, adaptability, and the willingness to protect those who could not defend themselves. In this, humans excelled. "We will hold them off long enough," Elias said, "and then we will escape. But we need everyone's trust and courage. Fear is the enemy, not just the consortium." Liara realized that the lesson was greater than survival. Humans had a way of uniting, of inspiring others to act, even when the odds were overwhelming. They were not the strongest, but they were persistent, moral, and fearless in their willingness to do what was right. And that, she realized, could change the course of battles, of lives, and even of the galaxy itself. When the consortium's ships entered the nebula, confusion reigned. The clever human tactics and the natural complexity of the nebula slowed their progress. Elias and the colony's pilots struck with precision, disabling engines and creating diversions without unnecessary destruction. Each move demonstrated a remarkable combination of intelligence, courage, and moral discipline. Liara felt a deep respect for these beings. In her world, the strong often acted selfishly, and the clever often acted cruelly. Yet here were humans who combined both qualities for good. She realized that courage and morality, combined with ingenuity, were more powerful than any weapon or fleet. As the battle waned, the consortium ships retreated, unwilling to risk further losses in the treacherous nebula. The hidden colony breathed a sigh of relief. Though the threat was not gone, they had survived through collaboration, trust, and courage. Elias turned to Liara. "You see now," he said softly, "sometimes courage is about inspiring others. You protect life and others join you. That is how humans and perhaps all beings can change the universe." Liara nodded, feeling the truth of his words. She had been hunted, abandoned, and betrayed, yet here she stood, surrounded by beings who acted rightly despite fear. She realized that leadership was not just about authority. It was about inspiring courage, building trust, and standing firm when others hesitate. That night, as the intrepid Horizon prepared to depart the nebula, Liara stood at the observation window, gazing at the hidden colony below. The soft lights of the settlement flickered like stars caught in the gas clouds, a testament to hope, perseverance, and human courage. "You have shown me a way I did not know existed," she said quietly. A way to lead, to inspire, to act rightly even when the galaxy seems cruel. Humans, you have given me more than life. You have given me hope. Elias placed a hand gently on her shoulder. Hope is the beginning. Courage is what follows, and together we can face whatever comes next. The consortium is relentless, but so are we. We do not turn away from what is right. Liara smiled faintly, feeling the weight of responsibility lift slightly. She had been alone for so long, forced to rely on herself in a galaxy that seemed indifferent. Now, she had allies, guidance, and a living example of courage that transcended species. Humans were not just protectors. They were beacons of hope, shining in the darkest reaches of space. As the intrepid Horizon left the nebula, moving towards safer territory, Liara knew that the journey ahead would be long and perilous. But she also knew that she was no longer alone, and that courage, compassion, and ingenuity could overcome even the most formidable adversaries. In the quiet hum of the ship, surrounded by allies who had chosen to act when others would not, Princess Liara realized a profound truth. The galaxy may test the brave, but those who refuse to turn away, those who act with heart and courage, can change the course of history itself. And in that moment, she felt ready to face whatever the future held, with humans like Elias Kane by her side, and with the knowledge that courage was a force that could never be extinguished. The intrepid Horizon glided silently through the quiet void, its hull gleaming under distant starlight. For days, Elias Kane and Princess Liara had planned their next move, coordinating with the hidden colony and preparing for the inevitable confrontation with the consortium. Every decision, every adjustment to the ship had been made with care, using both human ingenuity and Liara's knowledge of her pursuers. The time had come to act. Liara stood beside Elias in the control room, her eyes fixed on the holographic map of the sector ahead. The consortium's fleet had been traced to a nearby system, a cluster of abandoned outposts used as a staging area. The area was dangerous, with debris from old battles and uncharted gravitational anomalies. Yet this was where they would confront the enemy, and Liara felt a mix of fear and determination. "You are certain about this?" she asked, her voice steady. "The consortium, they will not hesitate to destroy everything in their path." Elias nodded. "We cannot run forever. They may have power, but we have courage, strategy, and allies. That is stronger than fear, stronger than intimidation. And we fight to protect life, not just ourselves. That is what makes the difference." Liara felt a deep respect for him. In her experiences, most leaders had relied on strength, threats, or cunning alone. Elias relied on something else: morality, courage, and a determination to act rightly even when the odds seemed impossible. She had never seen such a combination in the galaxy, and it inspired her to rise above her own fears. As they approached the enemy system, the intrepid Horizon moved carefully, using stealth technology and gravitational distortions to remain undetected. The fleet of the consortium waited ahead, their ships sleek and menacing. They had underestimated the humans, and now Elias intended to turn their arrogance into their weakness. "Prepare the fleet," Elias instructed, his voice calm but firm. "We strike together precisely and without hesitation. Remember, our goal is to protect the princess, minimize harm, and show courage. That is our greatest weapon." Liara's heart raced. She had witnessed battles, studied strategy, and endured the loss of countless allies, but never had she seen such a calm confidence under pressure. Elia's presence, his unwavering focus, gave her courage she had thought lost. The plan was simple in principle but dangerous in execution. Using the abandoned outposts as cover, Elias and the allied ships would strike in waves, distracting the consortium while a small team would infiltrate the central command ship. Liara's knowledge of her enemies' technology made her invaluable, guiding the humans through hidden passages, security weaknesses, and control systems. As the first wave of allied ships approached, the consortium opened fire. Energy blasts streaked through space, illuminating the darkness with dangerous flashes. The intrepid Horizon weaved expertly, dodging attacks while coordinating the allied fleet. Elias demonstrated the essence of human courage, calm, precise, and determined under fire. Liara observed in awe. Humans were not the strongest or the fastest, but they were the most resilient. Each maneuver was designed not just to survive, but to protect life and outthink the enemy. She realized that bravery combined with morality and intelligence could surpass raw power. The infiltration team, including Ilias and Liara, launched in a stealth shuttle toward the consortium's central command ship. Their approach was nearly invisible, using asteroid debris and gravitational anomalies as cover. Liara guided Ilias through security protocols she had memorized, pointing out blind spots and vulnerable points. "Here," she whispered, "we can bypass the sensors if we move in synchrony. Timing is everything." Ilias nodded. "Then we move as one, trust me?" Liara smiled faintly. "I already do." Inside the consortium's command ship, the atmosphere was tense. Guards patrolled in predictable patterns, relying on technology rather than instinct. Ilias and Liara moved silently, combining human intuition with Sci-Fi understanding. Each step was precise, calculated, and purposeful. Suddenly, an alarm blared. An unexpected patrol had appeared. Ilias reacted immediately, using non-lethal measures to disable the guards. Liara assisted, hacking the security systems to create diversions. They moved quickly, knowing that hesitation could cost them everything. Finally, they reached the central control room. Liara accessed the systems, disabling communications and security protocols while Ilias coordinated with the fleet outside. The consortium's ships were temporarily blinded, their coordination disrupted by the clever human maneuvers. "Almost there," Ilias whispered. "Hold steady. Courage now matters more than anything else." Liara activated the emergency protocols, broadcasting a warning to all consortium ships that further aggression would result in exposure and interception by Allied forces. The message was clear: their reign of fear and cruelty would not go unchallenged. Outside, the Allied fleet took advantage of the chaos. Strategic strikes disabled key vessels, using precise timing rather than brute force. The consortium's ships, powerful but rigid, could not adapt to the unpredictable, morally driven tactics of the humans. Each move by Ilias' fleet reflected the human principle that courage and intelligence, guided by morality, could achieve more than sheer strength alone. Back inside the command ship, Liara and Ilias confronted the consortium's leader, a calculating, ruthless figure who had hunted her relentlessly. He sneered at the humans, confident in his power. "You are outnumbered," he said. "Your courage will not save you." Ilias met his gaze steadily. "It is not numbers that matter. It is doing what is right, protecting life and refusing to turn away. You may have fear and power, but we have courage, morality, and allies who believe in the same. That is stronger than anything you possess." Liara, standing beside him, added, "And we will not be intimidated. You underestimated humans and the power of courage. That mistake will cost you everything." With that, they executed the final stage of their plan. Liara used her knowledge of the ship's systems to seal key compartments, disable weapons, and prevent any further escape. Ilias coordinated with the fleet to surround the ship, ensuring that the consortium's leader could no longer harm innocent lives. As the battle outside reached its climax, the consortium's forces began to surrender, realizing that their strength was no match for the ingenuity, courage, and moral resolve of the humans and their allies. Ships that had seemed invincible fell under clever tactics that prioritized life over destruction. When the final vessel surrendered, Liara allowed herself a moment to breathe. She had been hunted, betrayed, and abandoned, yet here she stood, alive and victorious. And the one who had led her through it was Ilias Kane, a human who refused to turn away even when everyone else had. The consortium's leader, now powerless, looked at them with disbelief. How can a human and an alien accomplish this?" he demanded. Ilias' expression was calm but firm. "Because we act with courage, with morality, and with the will to protect life. You underestimated the strength of those qualities, and that is something no weapon can destroy." Liara stepped forward, her voice steady and proud. "The galaxy will know that power alone does not define greatness. Courage, compassion, and moral integrity are far stronger. That is the way we will lead, together, not through fear, but through trust and protection of life." Outside, the Allied fleet celebrated quietly, having avoided unnecessary destruction while securing victory. The human way of combining courage, intelligence, and morality had not only saved lives, but also set an example for the galaxy. Back aboard the intrepid Horizon, Liara turned to Ilias. You have shown me the true meaning of courage. I feared the galaxy would never allow mercy or justice. But humans, you have reminded me that hope exists even in darkness." Ilias smiled faintly. Hope and courage are powerful, and when we act rightly, we inspire others to do the same. That is how change spreads. Liara nodded, understanding that the lesson was deeper than mere survival. Leadership was not just about strength or authority. It was about inspiring others, protecting life, and refusing to turn away when it mattered most. Humans embodied that lesson fully, and she vowed to carry it forward to her people and her world. The intrepid Horizon left the battle behind, moving toward a safer system where Liara could recover fully. The galaxy, vast and often indifferent, had been reminded of a simple truth. Courage, morality, and the willingness to act for what is right could overcome even the most daunting challenges. As Liara looked out at the stars, she realized that this journey had changed her forever. She had seen fear, betrayal, and cruelty, but she had also seen courage, loyalty, and moral strength. She had seen humans at their best, refusing to abandon life even when the odds seemed impossible, and she knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would remember the human spirit that refused to turn away, the courage that inspired allies and saved lives, and the power of moral action that no weapon could ever overcome. Elias stood beside her, quiet but steady. Together, they had faced impossible odds, inspired hope where there was none, and triumphed not through destruction, but through courage, intelligence, and morality. The galaxy had seen what humans could do when they acted rightly, and it would never be the same again. Princess Liara finally smiled, a genuine, peaceful smile. She had been rescued, yes, but more importantly, she had witnessed the true strength of humanity. She had learned that courage was not just an action but a choice, a principle that could shape the fate of worlds. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but Liara knew one thing for certain. As long as humans like Elias Kane existed, no being, no matter how isolated or hunted, would ever truly stand alone.